Hey guys, Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films back again with Doctor Who Classic. Last time around we had The Creature from the Pit. What was that one about?
There was a creature and it was in a pit. That's pretty much all I remember at this point.
Yeah, so they landed on a planet that has very little metal, and there was this monster that they claimed was in this pit. But it was actually just an alien who wanted to trade their metal on their planet for all the plant life on this planet.
That's right.
But the leader, Lady Adrasta, just pushed it down a pit and left it there for 15 years. And then the Doctor was able to figure it out, communicate with the creature. Luckily, eventually he found the actual communication device, and his original attempts were not safe for work, I would imagine. Which apparently that was it was him actually taking the thing and talking into it was improvised by Tom Baker.
Uh-huh.
So that was not in the script. So it was still pretty weird, but yeah. And then there was a whole thing of the aliens' home planet launched a compressed neutron star to destroy the other planet for holding their ambassador hostage, and they had to do this whole thing, and it was kind of a weird fourth act, but it worked out.
Yeah, enjoyable overall. Now, again, the blob itself, the ambassador, was kind of unusual, but
yeah.
The story was pretty good overall.
Yeah, so next we are on to Nightmare of Eden. Yeah, I don't know. This could be anything, and I could bring up Doctor Who titles again, but clearly that's just annoying everybody. So, except me, I find it hilarious. So,
I remember the original Star Trek series had something about a group of space hippies who were trying to find the Garden of Eden, sort of thing. I'm sure this has nothing to do with that or anything like that.
You probably I can't remember that episode, but it just sounds like a goofier version of Star Trek V.
Well, these were all tall, very kind of platinum blonde, curly-haired, very athletic types, who were. I mean, seriously, it was supposed to be the peace hippie movement of the late '60s. But it was really overdone. They got Spock to play his Vulcan lute or whatever it was. But again, it kind of all falls apart. Kind of like when was it the first Doctor who was talking to the Thals, whoever the peaceful people were, and ultimately said, you're gonna have to learn sometimes that you have to fight.
Yeah.
Because there's no other way.
Yeah, that was in the first Dalek episode.
Yeah.
And I think it was Ian who was trying to teach him that, actually. But yeah, it was something like that. It's like, oh, you're going to have to learn how to fight or something. And it wasn't the greatest, demonstration he could have done, but it's 1963, did the best he could, so. So yeah, so probably none of that will have to do with this episode, but yeah. You got anything else?
Just the temperatures here in middle of March in Oklahoma seem to have reversed themselves from February. Last month, right about this time, we had about a dozen tornadoes in Oklahoma. We normally get very few, if any, tornadoes in February. This month, it's 80 degrees one day and 30 degrees the next day. So today is one of those days where the temperature is in the low 40s, and I don't have my jacket on, and my hoodie, and I'm already regretting it.
Yeah, so I have the ceiling fan on full blast because I'm very warm. So
if you see me huddling and shivering, you'll know why.
Yeah, so, and I'm just going to enjoy the different temperature over here. So, anywho. Yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. Why don't we just go ahead and jump right into Nightmare of Eden. Here we go.
Ocean liner in space.
Whoa. I was gonna say, isn't it like Spaceballs or something where it just keeps zooming out and the ship is just huge? Maybe it's just an airliner.
Computer speaking.
Second, these coordinates are wrong. Did you set these?
What's a few degrees?
What's a few degrees? What's the matter with you, man? We're flying an interstellar cruise liner, not riding a bicycle.
Oh, it is a cruise liner.
So it's going into the wrong
Yeah.
orbit. Oh no!
Iceberg right ahead.
It's okay. They hit the handbrake.
Have you got the damage report yet? Well? Oh, it's all you left for a second. I'll carry the gas. I'll lose my job, but you'll never work in West Galaxy again. Come on, check the power map. Come on, move yourself. This is an emergency.
Well, I don't know if he's a hippie, but he's definitely high on something.
Are you a passenger?
No, we asked your mayday. I'm from Galactic. Insurance and salvage. Been having a look around. This is my assistant Romana. I'm the doctor. How do you do?
You do?
Shall we play a game?
Well, he immediately found out the doctor was lying.
Source of the drug, XYP. Dangerous, addictive. Known as Fraxoin.
Fraxoin. I've seen
He was on drugs.
It is my ambition to become the first zoologist to qualify and quantify every species in our galaxy. One more trip and I may achieve it.
Are you planning another?
Yeah, well, the next is
That's a Douglas Adams line.
question of finances. I was hoping to meet a
It is my job to insult every person in the universe alphabetically.
my chances.
Oh, but he's all right. We checked him on board.
Yes, but I'd still like to know where he's been.
Yes, and I'd like to know just who you are.
Me?
Yes.
Well, I told you I'm from Galactic.
Galactic went out of business 20 years ago.
I wondered why I haven't been
This is
paid.
early 2100s.
That's what I
Apparently.
thought. Where can I find Trist?
How many were on your ship?
Well, to begin with, there was 10, but we lost one.
How?
He died.
How did he die?
He died.
Did you find out anything?
That's not suspicious at all. Well, this is Eden. Show me the nightmare of. It is my nightmare. A Doctor Who jungle.
Do we suspect the very large flashy ring is a clue
Probably.
to watch for?
You didn't bring any live specimens on board my ship, did you?
Oh, no, Captain, I assure you. No, all my specimens are laser crystal recordings.
Good, good.
They're purposefully not showing his hands.
Right, Doctor, give me a hand.
All right. Well, it was very patiently waiting for them to finish up with that.
Well, an intriguing story.
Yeah, definitely. That's very interesting mystery. I guess sort of a murder mystery, but also a drug mystery, which is interesting. Yeah, and then just on top of the fact that we also have the guy who we clearly saw in the Eden section, and now this giant monster, which I guess could have just been from one of the other areas. So yeah, so far very, very interesting. And interesting characters.
Now, the doctor, Trist, or whatever he is, the zoologist,
Yeah.
I don't think he's an actual Eastern European type because his accent is somewhat inconsistent.
Yeah.
Scroll through and see who's playing him. It was Fiander. Because there was that guy in the one with Salamander.
Yeah.
Who had that really good Eastern Europe, and we couldn't figure out where he was from. And he appeared later on in something else too. But this guy just seems to be probably an English-speaking actor trying a Eastern European, German, Polish accent. And again, it's not quite right, but it doesn't really bother me.
Yeah, and this definitely reminds me of what was it? It was the first episode where we met K9. I can't remember what that episode was called, but that was a whole thing with there was a virus and this sort of Eastern European sounding doctor and a very interesting mystery going on with that, and also a weird monster at the end too. So far it's an interesting episode, definitely.
Now look at where you've stopped that. See over the NDE. Looks kind of like a monster face there.
Yeah, a little like a strange mask thing. So
there's a Rorschach test for you.
well, all right. I'll turn this down now.
Why, thank you.
I only had that on so high because I had just come out of the shower, so I was very steamy.
Well, it's totally inexplicable.
Nothing's inexplicable.
Then explain it.
I can't.
It's inexplicable. Better put it back. Hey, get out.
Oh, good.
The Empress has eaten your ship. Eaten it.
I don't see why you find it so funny. After all, you stand to lose your captaincy over this.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that's funny in itself, isn't it?
Stay there, K9, stay there.
No, now he's high.
Ready for another? Oh, could I have a word with you? I'm just,
God, stairs. You know, they could have just walked away casually and the doctor wouldn't have to chase them.
The plaque, please, sir.
And yours, please.
I haven't got one.
Neither have I.
That's extremely serious.
Drugs. Fraxilin.
Names and dates of birth. Come on.
Romana.
Romana who?
Will you please listen? Someone aboard this ship is smuggling drugs.
Name and date of birth.
Well, how would I know? I don't even know who he is yet.
Your name and date of birth.
Oh,
He doesn't know that either.
so I'm called the doctor. Date of birth, difficult to remember. Sometime quite soon, I think.
I would advise you not to play the fool with us.
Fraxoin. Traces of it in his pocket.
So, the criminals must be caught, eh, Doctor?
Oh, for heaven's sake.
You're under arrest.
All right. Can I just say one thing at this moment?
Well,
It's simply that...
Good job.
Now what do we do?
Just a little theory of mine. Come on.
We can't, it's unstable.
Romana, we must.
We'll get torn apart.
Got no alternative. Come on.
Alrighty. That is part 2.
All right, so we still don't know who has the ring. Although
Yeah.
it's probably Stott, wouldn't you imagine?
Yeah. And, I mean, I'm pretty sure that's the thing, is that he wasn't killed, he was just absorbed into the machine somehow. So, I will say, I've enjoyed, what's the Rig? The captain? I liked him because, even though, yes, he obviously doesn't fully trust the doctor, I like that he's still, he's got to get business done. Soon as those 2 cops showed up, it's like, okay, here comes these 2 characters, the same kind of characters we always see, which is not even a criticism on Doctor Who. Of course a character like this would show up, but just the immediate sort of, and it's also just a problem of, yes, they're doing their jobs. This is what they would do. We're only frustrated, like the Doctor's frustrated, because we watched the Doctor. We've watched him for over 100 stories. We know he's okay. So it's just the sort of thing. It's like, don't come on, don't get in his way. We got stuff to do. So,
And I'm guessing he doesn't have the famous paper yet that tells people he's whoever he wants to be.
no,
That's new who.
that is a Ninth Doctor sort of thing. So, it's unfortunate because it is a very handy thing. So, but yeah. So I mean, so far it is just a very interesting thing. I think I'm gonna rule out Trist at this point. I'll probably also rule out Della, honestly.
Yeah.
So I think they just happen to, be taking this, but they don't know that Stott is doing that. Yeah. So
Now, again, simply the way they're being played, I wouldn't suspect Della, but somehow Trist may still figure into all of this.
yeah, because there is still, we had the two shots of one when Romana was fainted. There was the same sort of boots that I think Trist wears, but it could just be from the same sort of uniform that Stott could be wearing. Yeah. The other would be the hand that poured the Rex Owen into Riggs' drink. But again, it could just be that the guy just, he's built very much like Trist in order to throw you off. So yeah, could be a number of things. I did find it funny, though, just going when they were running through just like 3 different rooms of those passengers, which obviously is just the same room. They obviously didn't make 3 rooms, but and that's fine. You can do a camera trick like that. That's always fun. But it just kind of dawned on me. It's like, oh yeah, there's like 100 people here just like hanging out. Just they haven't landed at their vacation spot or something.
Yeah.
So yeah. So far, it's an interesting story.
Yeah.
So.
Let's go east.
How do you know which way is east?
Well, I don't. We'll go that way and we'll call it east.
Why not call it north?
All right, we'll call it north.
An interesting-looking creature.
Well,
I've never met such idiots as those customs men.
Idiots, they're worse than idiots. That bureaucracy just exists to tangle people up. Wrap them round and round in red tape until they can't move.
ugh. Good job.
Let's get out of here.
You know that didn't taste at all bad.
Grill it a bit, a little bit of salt.
I wonder if his reference to Let's Go East is to that late 50s film East of Eden.
No.
Which, if I recall correctly, won an Academy Award for Best Picture. Don't quote me on that. Don't quote me on that.
Not bad at all. How long have you been here?
183 days. They left me for dead on Eden. I tried to get back here to call the ship,
You built that
but I
in
got
half
caught
a
up in the
year?
event transmuter. I'm a major in the intelligence section of Space Corps on a special assignment to find out who's drug running.
Ah, you thought it was me, didn't you?
For a while. Then I overheard you and Romana talking in the lounge.
Trist thought it was you. And now he thinks it's Della.
Trist a fool. He knows nothing. He didn't even realize his expedition was being used to transport a new source of Vrax that someone had found.
I mean, there were like 8 other people in his expedition. Where are they?
My package are asking you to represent them, to take our complaints to the captain.
You must understand, he's very busy in the emergency. He's doing everything possible to get you to Azure.
Well, she's dead.
I should be charging with gross neglect of duty. The passenger should be your first concern, yet I find you drunkenly looking on as they're attacked and killed. Well,
They're only economy class. What's all the fuss about?
Oh, that's cruel.
Is that the one, Romana? Romana, did you check the cable to the reactor?
Pretty sure it was that one.
Well, check it. I need to be absolutely sure. It's perfectly all right. It's quite dead.
Oh, if you say so.
Was it the one?
It's still
I'm sorry,
obviously
it's the one
breathing,
below.
though. I kind of wish... It's perfectly dead. Kick it. Oi!
Where did you go now?
Pass the word around that if he offers the slightest resistance to arrest, shoot him.
Shoot him, sir.
He's a criminal, isn't he? What else do you do with criminals?
Sir.
Stand trial?
Shall I put it on destruct?
I think not. We'll see how things develop. We'll keep in touch.
Ooh, no, it's a joint operation.
Look a little bit like the Swamp Thing from the comic books. Oh, I'm not dead yet. I'm not fooling anyone. I'll be all right in just a minute.
So now it's not a mistake that he was actually still breathing. Need to re-examine his life for a second.
You go back and guide the doctor.
No! No!
Ew. Ugh. Poor thing. He just wanted to murder indiscriminately.
Made an ass of himself.
Fraxoin. Of course. So that's it.
And it just got on your skin, Doctor.
Huh.
You're lying. I know you've got the stuff. Now tell me where it is.
Please, let me just set the controls.
Thought he was
and I'll
under
help you.
arrest.
Now let me go.
Just a little bit. I know you've got it. Now let me have some or I'll kill you.
I haven't got anything.
Lie. Just say it's in the kitchen. Go. Well, it's probably not good. Alright, so the mandrels are the drug.
Or somehow carry the drug.
Yeah. So, something to the effect. Either way.
It's like the mules, the people who literally carry drugs inside their body.
Yeah, so...
And so the captain of the small ship and Trist...
Yeah.
Was it Trist?
Yeah.
Seemed to be in cahoots somehow.
Yeah. Even though Stott didn't think Trist was in on it, it seems to be something of... I mean, I guess it must be that Trist got... what was it? Secker? He got him high specifically so that this crash would happen, so that he could transport the Vrexoan onto Dimmon's ship so that he could then take it. This seems like a bit of a to-do, you know, for a drug exchange. Like look, I've watched a number of episodes of Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. This seems a little excessive. So, well, and even still, wasn't it Dimmond who called the cops? Like which I guess, you know, they're too busy looking for the doctor and Romana, but even still, wouldn't you not want the cops around?
Well, again, understanding the bureaucracy, he would then essentially be getting the last obstacle to the transfer, which is the doctor and Romana, out of the way.
Yeah.
And if they're off the trail, if they're going after the red herring, then they won't notice that the drugs are being transferred to the other ship.
I guess that's true. So it just seems... I mean, I guess it's all based on the fact that this is just a big to-do to try to get this drug exchange, you know? So, yeah. Man, I feel bad for Rig. I liked him. So, he was a good character. And honestly, yeah, if it's like, oh, yeah, I need this stuff, you know, you gotta give me this stuff. It's like, well, why don't you just, like, lie to him and just say, it's like, oh, well, it's in the first class bathroom. That's where it's being stored. He goes there. Then he's going to spend all his time trying to get in. He can't get in without Trist's card. So, there you go. Problem solved. Romana, you need to learn how to lie. The doctor does it all the time. So.
Take the gun. Leave
Yeah.
the cannoli.
Did his hair get poofier, by the way?
Looked like it a little.
The doctor has just come aboard.
Did he hold his breath the whole time?
Didn't he do that thing where he calms himself down to like 2 heartbeats a minute?
Yeah.
Is he actually wagging his tail?
Hello, Canine. Burned to a powder.
A powder? You mean?
Raxoin.
No wonder I couldn't find it.
Yes, they can make the transference across space by means of the Enchuka laser.
Can you prove it?
Yes.
How?
I let them do it.
Well, I guess that makes more sense. It's not... Maybe they weren't supposed to crash.
Electric cattle prod.
They had a lot more of those costumes than I thought.
That's not enough. We're going to need some more power from somewhere.
We could put the jump leads on K9.
Good dog, K9. Good dog. Come on. Put your leads on. Put your leads on there.
Are you connected, K9?
Jumper cables.
Affirmative, mistress.
Have you ever heard the expression hoist by his own petard?
Yes, but you haven't done anything.
Good. Well, what...
So, Doctor, your plan has failed miserably. There's no way we can catch them now.
On the contrary, Fisk. I've already caught them. Huh?
That was
Here they are.
really fast. Good job.
Doctor, I didn't want to be involved in all this. Tell them that I only did it for the sake of funding my research. You understand all this, you are a scientist.
Go away.
What?
Go away.
Oh.
The Mandals have a perfect right to exist. In one way, Trist was right. Humans do have some kind of choice. Let's just hope that no one else discovers the secret.
I can only think of one animal who'd be comfortably at home in an electric zoo.
Really? What's that?
I don't think we want to tell them, do we, K9?
Negative, mistress.
So long as humans don't figure out you can turn giant beasts into drugs, it'll all be good. Alrighty.
All right, so I just want to make sure that I'm not mistaken here. Should we assume that Rex Owen is Herr Owen?
Probably.
I mean, it seems to be... that was a huge problem in the late 70s, and of course it's still a big problem today.
Yeah.
All the cartels and everything trying to get drugs out onto the street.
Yeah. Just, give it an alien name. It works out. So, the weird thing? I heard this episode sucked. And I don't get it. So, I had several people in the comments for City of Death, and a couple people on Twitter saying that Nightmare of Eden was not a good episode. I don't get it.
Yeah.
I just kept waiting. I was like, something's going to be here. Something's going to be here. And, we are not shy of criticizing Doctor Who, as everybody well knows. But, no, that was fine.
Yeah. Not one of their greatest episodes, but it was better than a lot that we've seen.
Yeah. So, it is at least an interesting mystery, I guess. Who were the smugglers? So, but other than that, it's not the most exciting episode in the world, but no, certainly not bad. I mean, it's better than Destiny of the Daleks. Let's put that out there. Yeah. So, that'll be our judge for the rest of season 17. Well, granted, we have 2 episodes left of season 17, 2 stories left, but yeah, honestly, it was pretty all right.
Yeah, now, again, for a mystery, it was good. It wasn't until the 3rd episode that we finally got an idea of what was actually going on.
Yeah.
So, again, the monsters were certainly better than some. The man-eating plant was kind of interesting. And again, if you looked at it a little too closely, it also was not exactly safe for work.
Yeah.
But again, the what were they called? The monsters?
The mandrills.
The mandrills. Because they were different shapes and sizes, they were credible as monsters. Very slow moving, which of course they would be, being that huge. The miniature work for the ships was not outstanding, but it was workable. The character of the doctor with the bad accent again would have been better if they had an actual Eastern European actor to do that. But again, overall, the story held together. Again, it was not brilliant, but it wasn't as bad as apparently people think it was.
Yeah, so, and I mean, I don't know if people think it's like one of the worst, but going into this season, I heard people say that, well, there's one really, really great episode, and the rest are not that great. And the really, really great episode would have been City of Death.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, ever since then, we enjoyed Creature from the Pit, we enjoyed this episode, and we suffered through Destiny of the Daleks. So I don't know. I'm just kind of curious. It's just always just a funny thing because there's never a lot that we agree on with Doctor Who fans, and some of that is fine, some of that is comedic, whatever. Yeah. But this one, it's like this is fine.
Yeah.
So,
and I would suspect, since we don't do what again I think a lot of Doctor Who fans do, we have not seen this previously. We're not going to go back to it. I think people who would study it over and over again could ultimately point out all of the flaws in it. But for a first-time viewing, just one-off over the hour and a half that we watched it, it's an enjoyable episode.
Yeah, I do remember it is slightly one of the problems with a reaction where it's like, oh yes, we're putting our thoughts out there about this episode, but it's so immediate that it has to be taken sort of differently than a lot of other people. There will be YouTube channels that'll make entire video essays about episodes, and that's fine, that's all well and good, but that means they have much more time to think about it and write out everything they need to say, whereas we're very immediate. I remember there was one episode of modern Doctor Who, I think it was Heaven Sent, for anyone who remembers that episode. And I got just a little bit of flack about that episode because it's a great episode. I pretty much didn't criticize it at all. I thought it was a really great episode. But I remember there was someone who said, oh, you didn't go over like how this was, it goes over the Doctor's grief and, goes through different stages and stuff. And I was like, okay, yeah, maybe, like, I see that now, but literally 3 seconds later, no, it didn't pop up into my mind quite yet. Like, cut me a little slack. I'll come back to this later, and yeah, I agree with you. And it is. That episode definitely is, but it's like, yeah, I just watched it. I'm still here. It's the morning. I'm tired. Yeah, I don't get everything immediately.
Yeah.
But yeah, on this one, it's like, it's fine. It's fine. It wasn't... Again, it wasn't amazing, but it was a perfectly serviceable episode. I didn't dislike it.
Yeah.
So yeah. So we had the whole space plane, space liner, and a crash, which, I mean, to its credit, is better than when actual planes crash.
Yeah.
I guess you could sort of say, like, if you wanted to equate this would be like two planes crashing on a runway. It's just an inconvenience all around.
Actually, there was, and I can't remember when exactly this was, maybe late 50s, early 60s, and I think it was off the coast of New York, but there was like an ocean liner, a passenger liner, the Andrea Doria, collided with a cargo ship, and the two ships were stuck together for quite some time while they were trying to put out the fire and rescue the people.
Yeah.
But yeah, the idea that this one ship, which is coming literally out of a warp, out of a phase, would land into a zone where the other guy, the smuggler, shouldn't have been, that the two ships would literally phase together like that, that's an interesting concept.
Yeah, so... and again, it does make me question, like, so what was the... I guess that must have been the whole plan, was that these two ships would collide. I mean, there's no actual damage to either ship. It's just that they're sort of phased together.
Yeah.
So the thought is, well, he's got all of this, and if there's no problem, then he would use the beam in order to get the CET, and then they would unphase, go their separate ways, and everything would be fine.
And nobody would be the wiser.
Yeah. And it would just be, well, why would this accident occur? Is because Secker, he got high. So you have a fall guy, but there would still just be no suspicion about, what happened here. Yeah. So I get all of that. I would also say, though, you could have just gone with they land on, and this is just from, not even from a writing or anything, this is just from a character logic kind of standpoint, so it's nothing really against the episode. But you would think the better plan would be land on the planet where Dimmond still is, just, when nobody's looking, you just give him the device, then he goes off. It's like, it was a very elaborate way of passing the drugs from one smuggler to another,
But I think because of the accident, that gives them a cover that people wouldn't suspect that anything other than the rescue of the two ships was going on there. I'm also wondering, I can't remember if this is about the time of the wreck of the Exxon Valdez in the, I think it's the Gulf of Alaska. The captain was supposedly drinking, and he went below decks to sleep it off, and he left the ship in the charge of like the third mate who had no idea how to navigate the straits, and he ran this oil tanker aground, and it was like at the time the worst oil spill in world history. So again, that may be the inspiration for this. I really can't remember exactly when that happened.
Obviously I'm looking at it as like, well, this seems like an overcomplicated plan, but obviously you need an overcomplicated plan, otherwise there's not really an episode, is there? It was still very interesting, and Trist, despite being revealed to be the villain, was an interesting character. So, and the whole concept of, which I can't remember what the episode was called, but it was the Third Doctor episode where they accidentally materialized like within this container, like they were shrunk down, and so they kept going to the different So it definitely reminded me of that. But still, it's a very interesting concept, and the whole thing of, well, it's supposed to be just this projection that you could view, but because it's unstable, he doesn't have everything that he should have. You can easily just pass between it all. So, which I guess he didn't know that was not part of the plan. Was that it was just supposed to project, but then because of that. Stott was able to get out, and so were all the mandrels. So and I guess too, he just didn't believe that. He didn't think that Stott was alive either. So he had just been hiding in the machine for half a year, he said. So
and I wonder if that dwelling that he was in was already in there, or if he built that, because one man by himself doesn't seem like he would be able to build something that elaborate.
I would imagine it was just like maybe that was just their research center on that planet, and it just happened to be taken, because they do say that once you use the machine, it leaves a bald spot basically on the planet. So I imagine they just took the thing with it. So
it's the bottled city of Kandor from the Superman idea. Where they literally just shrank the entire city and put it in a bottle.
So let's see. Now they did, because we were specifically looking for anybody with that ring. They never really highlighted it again. But I would imagine that must have just been that it was Dimmond's ring specifically. He was the one that shot the Doctor. So, but but they never really focused on that again. Well, it's also interesting just it's interesting that Stott, so he was specifically, he's basically like a space DEA agent. He's the Doctor Who equivalent of Hank Schrader, but he didn't think that Trist was in on it, which I thought was interesting, because especially too after he was shot, but I guess he just didn't know who shot him. and then he was left for dead, but then he was taken by it. But even in all of that, he still never suspected Trist of anything, which is kind of odd. But he knew that the mandrels were being used as Vraxoan, so that was interesting, and he knew that eventually there would be a transfer. So it's interesting. It just kind of makes me question how he didn't realize that Trist would be in on it. But then again, they said he had 10 people on his expedition. He said, well, one died, and we know that's Stott. What happened to all the others?
Yeah.
So they kind of never explain what happened. I don't know. Maybe they're not in first class. Maybe they're in economy. Yeah. So it's also interesting that the first class doesn't have to wear those coveralls or whatever, but economy does. I will also say, I don't want to say it's like really wasted potential, but you set up this whole thing of basically this space airliner, and then you don't really do too many things with it, like, and it was fine. Again, it's still a decent episode, but there was only really the one scene where the Doctor was running through all those different passenger quarters, so I don't know. But yeah, and then we had everything with the two officers there, which again, I like that they sort of call it out. It's like, oh, they're not just officers, they're bureaucrats, and they're going to tie everything up. And it's like, that really is like the Doctor's worst enemy is bureaucracy. So,
well, I mean, he even has to deal with the bureaucracy back on Gallifrey. So,
yeah, that's probably. I mean, that's pretty much why he left. Is all the bureaucracy is like, no, you can't interfere and this and that, and so he just up and left. So eventually, yeah, they bring him back occasionally, but he's pretty much like, all the Time Lords, they have their institutions and all of their rules and stuff. He's like a freelancer, but he's a freelancer who gets forced to do things for the Time Lords every so often. So yeah. I guess that's kind of it. And then pretty much the last thing was, well, they did explain Trist's motivation was funding, which again, because I brought this up in City of Death, just the fact that it's like, oh, these aliens need funding for their evil plans in modern day Earth, and it's like, well, it's not something you see every day. So that was interesting. But then here it's like, I guess it does make sense that he would need, he's trying to continue his research. He even said like he's kind of been shut down a number of times, so that's why he's willing to sell the mandrels as Vraxoan. So that makes sense. It doesn't make him necessarily a sympathetic villain, but he's an understandable character. So, and then using the bait, which I thought that was clever, where it's you basically rig it to where, yes, they did get everything in the machine, but then they get put in the machine. You can just go in and take them. So that was very clever. And then did they ever say if Rig actually died or not? Because it was Fisk, the officer, that shot him, but they didn't say whether he died or not.
Well, they said people who got hooked on Vraxoan were going to die anyway, so.
Yeah, I guess that's true. So if they don't get it, because we did see Secker, he was barely holding on when he was able to get his. So yeah, I guess that's pretty much all I've got. We've been going long enough. I don't know. I sometimes worry about reaction to discussion time, but I don't know. I'm kind of out of things. Anything else about the episode?
I got nothing.
All right. Well, this might have been a shorter discussion than normal, but then again, this apparently is not a well-liked episode, so I guess people might not really complain about it. So,
and what's up next?
Next up is the Horns of Nimon.
Or
Nimon, or something.
Nimon.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So.
All right.
And I hear, because again, that was sort of what was told to me, was that, City of Death, really good. Creature from the Pit is decent. And then I heard the next two after that are not really good. So now I'm just very curious what we're going to get with this one, considering, Nightmare of Eden, it's all right.
Yeah, I get passable.
Yeah, passable. It's not terrible. I never got bored. It was fine. So, but yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. With all that being said, we're Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films, and we will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. There's a bunch of links on screen if you want to go click around any of those. There's a playlist for all of our Doctor Who classic reactions, as well as another playlist for all of my modern Doctor Who reactions if you want to go check those out. There's also a subscribe button and a Patreon button on screen, as well as other links in the description if you want to go check out any of those. See you guys later.